Sanmonan, guys. I was asked by a couple of people to do a video around the incident that happened between a teacher and a pupil at Glenvista High. So I held off because I wanted to get as much information as possible before I start speaking to it. Obviously, I won't have all the information. I wasn't there, you know. I've watched the video a couple of times. I've listened to different people. I listened to the spokesperson of the Department of Education, Steve Mabona. I also listened to the director of NAPTOSA, which is the teachers union, who is Basil Manuel. And I'm listening to the different things. And obviously, I was a teacher for 10 years, and I've taught from high schools to private schools from high schools to primary schools, from private schools to I've taught at single-sex schools, I've taught at co-ed spaces. So, I believe from my own experience, I've got the full, you know. So, guys, I've taught, you know, I'm a senior secondary, I know them. And I've taught Oma Saints Ban. I've taught them from lay pants ingane incane ezingakwazi ukuya toilet till matric. So I've done it all, you know, and I've got my experience, I've got my lived experience. But let me actually break this video down by giving an example of a school that I was at and an incident that happened. So there was a substitute teacher that came in to teach in one of the classes. And what was happening is that the kids are told that they may not use their iPads or their devices for anything outside of educational purposes. That is the school policy. Those are the rules. All the kids know this, parents, etc. So the teacher's walking around the class, substitute teacher's walking around the class, and obviously she's coming from the back of the class, and she sees the one child who's playing a game on the phone. You know, they see the child playing a game on the phone. You know, the rules are, the policy is that your device or your iPad, whatever the case, gets confiscated, right? It gets confiscated, you got given the iPad at the end of the day or at the end of the lesson, or if it's a continued thing, it gets handed into the headmaster's office, and then the parents need to email, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you're not allowed to play games. There is repercussions for games. So the teacher sees this child. She's coming from that, with her eyes, she sees, and she goes right, and then she takes the child's device. So she goes and grabs the child's device. By doing so, she opens herself up. The child looks at the teacher and then says, "Don't touch my iPad," and then elbows her in the titty. Boom! Right in front of all the kids that can see. The class, fortunately, has cameras. The class has cameras. So obviously this is all caught on camera. There's kids in the class. And then the teacher who's just been elbowed in the titty, what she does is that in the state of shock, she leaves the class to go straight to the headmaster's office to report what just happened. So she leaves and she goes straight to the headmaster to say, a pupil just elbowed me in my titty, you know. So that is assault, that is physical violence. In the process of the teacher leaving, the child also stood up and left. This pupil stood up and left, right? The pupil stood up and left and went into a different area and hid in the bathroom. When they hid in the bathroom, they decided to call their father, told their father, this is the dynamics of what happened, blah, 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 blah. Again, we understand, Uguti, this is the story he's telling his father from his point. It's not from the mom's, it's not from the teacher's point, it's not from the kids in the class point, it's not from the camera's point, it's from his point. His father comes to the school, picks him up. No one knows about this. He's hiding in the bathroom. You know, father comes, picks him up, without anyone knowing, leaves the school. Sharp. Obviously, the headmaster and the teachers come back and they can't find this child. Where did this guy go? You know, because again, there's repercussions. You can't elbow a teacher in the titty. Come on. There's repercussions, but the child can't be found. The child can't be found. Like, so now we're all now trying to walk around campus looking for this child, la, la, la. Asim told, no one knows where the child is. No one can find the child, you know. So again, parents come and drop off their kids. They entrust us to look after their kids. Now the child has disappeared. You know, no one knows where this child is. So it gets to the point where it's later on the day. It's obviously, this is now, let's say, for example, it's happening at 10. Now this is about, let's say, 11:30, 12, you know, and the child hasn't popped up. Whatever the time was, let me not add too much time to make it seem as if the school was clumsy. But time passed, whatever the time may be, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. So they then decide to call the parents, which, hey, listen, this is an incident, This is the incident. We would like to address it with your child. We don't know where your child is. So they call the parents, and the father then says, what do you mean you don't know where my child is? I left my child in your care, and you're telling me that my child has disappeared. What craziness is this? I'm a fees-paying parent. I've entrusted you guys with my child, and my child has disappeared. What ridiculousness is this? So then again, please, can you come into the school? Let's discuss that. The father then rocks up at the school with lawyers, lawyered up. The whole thing is, where the F is the child? The father's like, I don't know, where's the child? Where's my child? He knows full well that he came, fetched the child, took the child back home. Now the whole thing is, where's my child? According to the Department of Education, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my experience of it, and this is discussions we've had many, many times with other teachers. According to the Department of Education, you may not leave, as an adult, as a teacher, you may not leave pupils unattended. You may not leave young children to their own devices, you as a staff member just leaving. Therefore, if you need the bathroom, you can go during break, you can go after school. But as long as there's kids in your class, the responsibility is you, so that if anyone stabs another one, scissors, or there's a fight, whatever the case may be, you as the adult can manage that situation. So when you as the adult are not there, who are you saying should look after these young children? So now that's the whole angle that the lawyer and this guy is going. Bearing in mind, the teacher is panicking. She's now crying because now the lawyers are saying, we're going to take you to court. We're going to take you to court. We're going to take you to the... Again, this father is not telling us that he took the child. We as staff members are running around trying to find this child. It's just chaotic. It is so stressful, And long story short, we ended up being told that, yes, I took my child because he was under stress, he was under duress, he was panicking, he was this because of an abusive teacher. They spun the story. The whole thing is, even when the headmaster was saying, can we interview the children? The lawyers were saying the children are underage, unless we have a professional clinical child psychologist, whatever the case is, interviewing them with all the parental rights being signed. We disagree to that. The school was like, can we use the cameras to actually show you what happened? No, according to the school policy, cameras are only used for theft. At that time, because the cameras were fairly new, it was a theft thing, and it wasn't meant to micromanage to survey the classroom, because again, we've got the Poppy Act. So you can't be Mr. Creepy staring at what the teacher is doing or what the kids are doing. The camera was just meant as a security dynamic, just in case things get stolen, not to survey behavior. That wasn't the thing, not to survey what's happening in the classes, because again, it goes against the Poppy Act. So the parents were very strategic. The school had to write a letter of apology. The teacher had to write a letter of apology, and then the teacher's contract was then terminated because of this incident. I took a very wild turn to come back to Glenvista. I've been a teacher. I'm a parent. I understand. I love my kids. I understand and I love the pupils that I've all taught. Hey guys, it is not easy. It is not easy. Teaching is not yours. No child's play. I have been in many situations where I've lost my cool. I don't want to act like I'm better than. I've lost my cool. I've shouted. I've sworn. I've lost my cool. People who are watching this, who have taught, who have coached, they will attest. They go to Mr. Mlotra. When he gets pissed, he gets pissed. Again, you're emotionally invested. You are human. With my kids, I've lost my kids. I've lost my cool with my kids. I've lost my cool with the kids. So now you're watching this, and I'm listening to Steve Mabona, who's the spokesperson of the department, spewing, as a teacher, you are the adult. I was like, you fucking retard. You're talking about how the world ought to be, but you're not talking about the reality of what's happening. We all watched the clip of a teacher, adult, and a grade 9 pupil going at it, throwing downs, Rocky Balboa. We saw that. Initially, everyone's first instinct is to say, adult, manage yourself, this is a child. Everyone goes with that initial instinct until such time where they find themselves in that space, until such time that they understand exactly the dynamics. Guys, this is not the first time that this is happening in Glenvista. This happened 10 years ago. And this is on camera. We don't know the things that are happening off camera that never trend. 10 years ago, same incident, a child jumps onto a teacher's back. The teacher manages to throw the child off. Teacher leaves the class. Again, according to the Department of Education, it's wrong because now you've got minors unattended. Leaves the class. His whole class for this little pupil is busy saying, go get him, go get him. Child throws a broom. What happens? Child went back to school. You know, what happens in cases like that? What happens in cases like that? Because again, they interviewed the NAPTOSA Basel manual and they said, okay, sharp, what happens? What happens when the teacher does walk away and the child was the one who was hitting and throwing? What happens? And he goes, well, then we do an investigation. Great. And then the child gets suspended. 2 days, comes back to school. Now, me as a teacher, I have to manage this class now. It's about classroom management. I've just been decked by a grade 9. He's just decked me. I stood up and I left. Now I need to fill up forms why I left kids unattended. Now I need to make sure I manage the classroom dynamics. Because you must understand, if you've ever been to high school, you know how fucking rude kids can be. I was one of those kids that used to poke teachers. I had other mates that used to poke teachers. We used to laugh at teachers. We used to tease teachers. If you've ever been to high school, you know how nasty kids can be at teachers. You know that. So now I have to manage this, and then the kids are like, when I try to discipline, when I tool up before, I have to manage those dynamics. In the staff room, my peers are going to look at like, that teacher doesn't know how to manage his kids. I'm shy, weak. Parents, all these dynamics, your kids next year are going to Mr. Mlojo's class. Mr. Mlojo doesn't know how to manage. There's all these variables that need to come in. No one discusses that. Everybody's quick to look at the child. Great, perfect, minor, I get that. But no one really gives a fuck about the teachers. No one does. Guys, teaching is a very, very, very challenging profession. Guys, I was there for 10 years. I've left. I'm in media. Media has its own dynamics. It's nothing close like the Wild West called education. Managing all these personalities that you have. Managing the dynamics that the department puts on you. Manage rude, disrespectful parents that think that you work for them. Parents that don't give a fuck. Parents that don't discipline their kids. They don't know how to manage their kids after school. They go and they drop their kids off and you go, you figure it out. You go figure it out. You have a department that has taken away corporal punishment. Okay, progressive, great. What have you put? So you said, okay, I can't cane these kids when they're naughty. What options have you given us then? So if I can't cane the child, they give them 3 lashes, 5 lashes, whatever the case may be. What then? What can I do? What discipline have you given me? You know, because again, if you go to school after school after school, every teacher will tell you kids are getting more and more rude and unruly. Parents, when parents are walking around the school, they're like, yo, these kids are so rude. You made them fucking rude. Your kids don't greet. I come as a human being and I come to your house, your kids don't greet. Your kids come and kudlu and they move me around. I sit and I watch TV, your kids want to jump and change the channel. You have no structure in your own home. You take your kids, you throw them at these schools and you tell the teachers who are in handcuffs because there's nothing that they can do. And you tell them to do that. These kids can come to school with pink dreadlocks. Or the hair policy. They'll go straight to the Constitution saying, Woodsy, you have no right to deny me education. So pink dreadlock kid will sit in your class and you'll have nothing to say. They'll go straight to the Department of Education. Lapo, your school has done this hair policy. Nothing you can do. Kid can come through wearing a white all-stars as istatul. The child says, look, we can't afford a matafis. Sorry, are you going to deny me education? Constitution, Bill of Rights. Child goes to the department, you're on your own. You have sits like Steve coming through and calling you wrong. But they won't give you an alternative. They won't give you real options. They'll just chat. These are the same guys that when you go into their own homes, they may smash their kids. They may spank their kids when their kids are wrong. They may believe in not sparing the rod so that they can manage and discipline their kids. They take their kids, these same guys, to these schools with real structure and real respect, where the kids stand up when they see adults and go, sir, ma'am. They take that, but my model C and my lokshini, discipline is no way. If you don't believe me, go visit those schools. Talk to teachers at those schools. And then tell me about, talk to parents that send their kids to those schools. And then you'll know what discipline looks like in those schools. Guys, we are human. Those teachers make mistakes. Teachers sometimes shout and go out of pocket as well. Teachers do disgusting things at schools where they sleep with kids and all those type of teachers need to get punished, fired, prisoned. I agree. But department needs to come through and assist us. We understand how the world ought to be. We wish we could live in a time where there's no GBV and we wish there was no rape. We wish for all of that. I'm part of that. I wish. But as it is now, that's not what the world is. So now, government, as the parents of the country, help us. Help all of us. Clearly, there's a problem in these spaces. Clearly, we have deeper psychological, mental challenges. Help us. You're not going to just say, well, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, give me an alternative. Help me, teach me, guide me. Don't just let me go. And then you say, all the rights go to the kids. I've got kids. Hey, I've got 3 of them motherfuckers. If you don't have a tight hand with them, with these 3 guys, they'll snatch your soul, fam. So I need to make sure I've put real hard barriers in place. Are all my barriers aligned with the law? SAS. Aligned to Jesus' law. They're aligned to Jesus' law, I can tell you that. But in terms of the law of South Africa, I might find myself in trouble. Maybe I'm dry snitching on myself right now. But a lot of parents that are watching this understand exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of parents who are watching this know the challenges of parenting. But it's easy to judge when you see those parents, or you see those parents, you see those parents. A lot of teachers understand the frustration that guy went in. Did he go extreme? Of course, we can all agree. Guys, there's no place for physical violence. We get that. No one is that dumb. But you must be in a class day in, day out where the kids are just going at you. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. We saw that white lady in Kimberley High when the student poured water in her face. You as a human being who are getting taunted by this child and that child, and then you try and discipline and you say, stop that, and the child goes and pours water. I want to see how mature you are. And then come back tomorrow and then face the same thing. And then the next day, and then some child pushes you. And then face the next thing and the next thing. And then you leave and you go to a different school, but it's the same mindset, the next thing. And no one is saying, guys, we need real intervention for these kids. They are clearly frustrated. We need real intervention for the schools. We need real intervention for the parents. We need real intervention for the staff. No one does that shit. No one. No one. Kids know that they have immunity. They say whatever. I remember when I was in school, I was given one time, I think I was in grade 11, I was given like 3-hour detention at school for some wrong that I did. And I was like, I'm not coming through. And I didn't go. And nothing happened. Bang nigga detention that I needed to go as a form of punishment, and I didn't go. It's not like they're like, okay, let's go. What you gonna do? Nothing. You're not going to kick me out of class. You kicked me out of class when I didn't understand my rights, that I have a right to education. Now you kick a child out of class and the child says, ma'am, sir, I've got a right to education. Should you deny me my education, I'll take it up with the Department of Education. Again, then you can say, no, but you're denying other kids' class. Okay, sharp, then bring in my social worker and they'll decide. You can't decide. Bring in social workers, bring in educational psychologists, bring in child psychologists, they'll decide. But you can't deny me my education. What can I do then? Child comes through dressed in civilian clothes, in civvies. I can't chase that child out. That child has the right to education. The process of suspending a child, if it's in line with the department, or even worse, expelling. Woo. The only kids that you actually get away with expelling are kids whose parents don't know the rights. Those kids are easy to expel. But once kids know their rights, once parents know their rights, unless the child is going stabbing other kids, you won't get. It's tough. It's really tough. It's the same way that they convinced us to cut our hair at school and to dress a certain way because we thought that the hair policy was bigger than any other thing. Therefore, the policy, it's in the school rules. Not understanding, Wuti, the Bill of Rights is above the school policy. So the school may say it's compulsory to play sports, but if I say I don't want to, their hands are tied. And I say, look, if you do anything, I'll go to the department. And then we'll fight this with Steve Mabona. And Steve will come through and say, look, this child doesn't want to play sports and you're not going to force them. Boom, carry on. Now what? Now the teachers look like tits. The school look like tits. Other mates that never wanted to play sport vele initially, they'll be like, "All right, boy, if Penson doesn't play, then we don't play." There's a culture. There's a culture now. We see it all the time. We see it all the time. Guys, again, to be clear, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not advocating for violence. What I'm saying is that it is very, very challenging to be a teacher. It is very, very difficult to be a teacher, especially when you've got a department that is not giving you real solutions. These kids are clearly frustrated. These kids aren't being parented properly at home. We have a social fucking pandemic of kids, adults that lack responsibility and accountability. They lack it. They want to blame everyone else. The reason why I'm poor is XYZ. The reason why I'm that, no one lacks it. So now our own kids lack accountability and responsibility, and they'll become those adults that lack responsibility and accountability. As a community, we don't have this thing where we work together. We don't. I say, Ubuntu abuko. Back in the day, when I was wrong, my next door neighbor would give me a spanky spank. My gran would spank me. Back in the day, when I grew up in primary school, the teachers used to spank us. Now imagine the teacher spanked me and I went back home and I told my mom, Uguti, I got a hiding from Mrs. Banban or Mr. Banban. My mom would fold me. Because my mom would be like, look, that's an adult. The assumption is that you did something wrong. And then again, they gave you your 3 lashes. I'm not talking about retarded teachers or retarded people that go extreme. I'm talking about within the discipline structures. Obviously, you did something wrong, and then my mom would add more spanking. That's how we did. It took a community to raise a child. There's none of that anymore. If you raise your voice at a child, and I've experienced it, and I know a lot of teachers that are watching this have also experienced, you raise your voice at a child, that your pupil, they go home, you're going to get a fiery email and 2 meetings that we need to set up because clearly you're abusive. You are verbally abusive to the kids. You are this horrible person. Guys, it's harder and harder to get good teachers. Good teachers are leaving because they done having to fight the department. They done having to fight rude, disrespectful parents. Obviously, I have experience of an amazing parents because the parents loved me and I loved them back. The kids loved me and I loved them back. The school loved me and I loved them back. But we do experience horrible, horrible parents. Horrible, unrealistic parents. We do experience that, and it's challenging. It's really, really challenging. Guys, I don't have solutions, but I can tell you right now that the government ain't doing shit. I'm not saying bring back corporal punishment. I'm saying, if you read the Bible and spare the rod, spoil the child, I don't know, maybe there's some truth in the Bible. I know other religious books also have that. If we bring back the spirit of Ubuntu and it takes a community to raise a child, so if your child is in my space and I see your child's wrong, and maybe I discipline your child within whatever the scope that we decide. But as it is now, it's every man for themselves. And if you are that teacher, you will be fired. If you are that teacher in Glenvista, chances are you might be charged for assault, prison time. I don't know the dynamics, but unfortunately, that's how life works. That's how the cookie crumbles. The child who was throwing punches and the other one who threw the desk, they'll be back at school within a couple of days and they'll carry on. And unfortunately, as kids, when you think like kids, guys, you also did this so you don't act better. I would have given those kids a standing ovation. Hey, Mandla, hey, Mindlosi Fetu, hey, show me staying Gobese, hey, Kayo is Koko. We would have done those things, Anyway, that's all I gotta say on that topic. Please comment and try to be as objective as you can. Again, we are talking about an adult and a minor. So be objective, understanding that we are talking about a 15-year-old. We are talking about an adult. We are talking about frustrations. We are talking about dynamics. Try and look at it from different angles. Comment, let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, share. Hit that notification bell and have yourselves a fantastic day. Sharp.